I'm with my friend Eric here, and we are analyzing our top three NHL teams. So this time we'll actually start with you, Eric. Let's tell me your number three team you would say, and obviously explanation behind it.
So the explanation behind it is going to be extremely strange, but my number three team is, as of right now, and this is subject to change, and it very well might change after a lot of players move around this offseason, the Anaheim Ducks. Um, so I'm actually they're my West Coast team, partly because when I got my PlayStation, I got NHL 18, and the very first thing I did was I created a franchise, and I made it. I added an expansion team, and then I ended up getting fired from said expansion team after 2 years because my team was awful, and I was just doing the simming aspect of it. So the Anaheim Ducks were one of two teams willing to hire me, and I went to them. And, I started getting attached to the players because I ended up playing that franchise for a good 6, 7, 8, 9 or 10 seasons. And it got to the point where I became attached to a lot of like prospects on the Ducks and all that. So I knew a lot about them and just their history, and I was able to get them a few Stanley Cups, which is why my favorite present Duck would probably have to be Cam Fowler. He's young, he's talented. He's probably the only defenseman you're going to hear in our discussions here, but Cam Fowler is a great guy and a great player, and I'd be very happy if he ended up coming to my number one team or my number two team in the matter. But who's your number three team? I'm very curious to hear this one.
So number three, rounding it off, just like yours in the West, would be the Chicago Blackhawks. As we know, they pulled off a dynasty a couple years ago, winning in 2010, 2013, and 2015 with star players such as Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, and of course the goalie Corey Crawford. If I had to pick one of those players to be my favorite, I would definitely have to say Jonathan Toews. Now you look at it now, sir. So
You're pronouncing his name correctly. I'm proud.
well, yeah. Well, that's the thing. People see it. You see it's Toews. Like some. So we have this no name. We have this no name kid we know that's gonna pronounce it toes. That's the problem. But it's pronounced Taze. But this guy's a star player. Happens to be the captain of the team. How much longer does he have? I don't know, to be honest, because the team itself, him and Patrick Kane, are kind of winding down. But a few years ago, they had many championships, and the city's a great city, and I just believe that it's something that the future will also hold in terms of success for the franchise. So moving on to number two, what would be your second top team?
Ye old Buffalo Sabres from
Jesus.
Buffalo, New York. Yeah, so when you hear my number one team, I'm going to give you a disclaimer about it. But so the Buffalo Sabres, I visited the area of Buffalo in 2018, and
Really?
I kind of fell in love with it. We visited the area of Buffalo in
Oh, yeah,
2018.
I was there too, man. Yeah.
I think you were there. I vaguely think you were there.
Someone
And
had to drive there.
And I get there and I just fell in love with the area. We ended up seeing Casey Middlestat's first ever game, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then they went out and they acquired. This was after the fact, but they ended up getting one of my favorite players from the Flyers in Wayne Simmons. Granted, he's not what he was, but I just kind of fell in love with the Buffalo area, and I will consider in the future potentially like looking into moving in there if there's job opportunities and all that. But who would my favorite player be? That's tough. I just said I like Simmons, but he's not a good fit in Buffalo. I've watched a couple other games. He didn't really fit well there. I mentioned Middlestat. Of course, the easy answer would be Jack Eichel, but I'm gonna go with Victor Olofsson. I like him. He's young. He's talented. Speaking of, as we mentioned in the last video about our baseball team's fantasy, I picked up Victor Olafsson in one of my fantasy leagues, and he really helped me out. Of course, right now the season's in hiatus, but yeah, that's my choice of my second team. Who would your second team be?
Right before I tell you my second team, I was just gonna comment something on the Sabres. So we saw his debut game in NHL Middlestat, and we actually saw his first assist in the NHL as well. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I remember announcing it. We're like, wow, this is crazy. We're in this experience. But so my
Yeah. It was a blowout loss, but
yeah, 6-2 to like a team that was still at the bottom, the Dead Wings, our previous video. but uh, but anyways, moving on. Yeah, if I go to my second favorite team, I gotta go with the Hurricanes, the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, people would argue, yeah, they shouldn't have moved to Carolina. They should have stayed in Hartford. But I mean, they got a cup here in '06. Their players, yes, are very young, one of the top teams in the league with the youngest players. But they've definitely impressed in making the playoffs for the last year for the first time in a decade is huge. Now Buffalo being the leader of the longest playoff drought with 9 seasons.
Okay.
Not trying to say anything, but I'm just saying.
Okay.
It just happens that our number 2 teams are like. Anyways. And if I had to choose a favorite player from the Hurricanes, it's not going to be Aho. It's not going to be Williams. It's going to be Svechnikov. And you would think I would say Williams because the guy started with the team and he came all the way back with the team because he won a cup with them in '06.
Hey, he started with the Flyers. Good try.
All right. I don't even know if that's right, but I'm pretty sure he won.
He was drafted by the Flyers.
Okay, but he won a cup with the Hurricanes, won a cup with the Kings, won a cup with the Capitals, and then came back to the Hurricanes. I don't know, it's just kind of crazy. But I chose Svechnikov because I think his skills prove a lot for what's down the road in his career. And to be honest, I don't know if Carolina will be the fit that he needs next couple seasons. He only signed like a 2-year contract, no, it was like a 3-year contract. So after next year, he's either going to re-sign or what. But I feel like he might have a chance fitting in with a better team. But we'll have to find out because obviously he's only like 19 years old. Maybe 20. Maybe no, I think he's 19. But yeah, that's pretty much my number 2 team. And now we're back to the top for a top NHL team. I think I know what yours is, but go ahead.
I would just like to quickly point out that Justin Williams did not win the Stanley Cup with the Capitals. He was on the Hurricanes last season.
Oh, you just looked this up, didn't you?
No. So I knew he was on the team last year because I remember the speech he gave after the Hurricanes got eliminated. So 2 years ago. Yeah, it would have been 2 years ago at that point, but that speech that he gave after they got eliminated last year, and then I remembered he'd signed a 2-year deal. So I did look it up just to confirm my Flyers theory, and I was correct. He was drafted by the Flyers, and yes, he did win 2 Stanley Cups with the Kings though, which I would not have remembered without looking that up. So, but my number 1 team is, as evidenced by me saying Flyers right away with Justin Williams, the Philadelphia Flyers. You know, as I mentioned in the baseball video, I Eagles fan. Spoiler alert, if we do an NFL video, I am an Eagles fan. But, the Flyers haven't really been that good in recent years. And I said I'd give a side note. Yes, the Flyers did beat the Sabres in the Calder Cup Finals. Sorry, Stanley Cup Finals. Oh my gosh, in the Stanley Cup Finals in '75, I think it was. Mm-hmm. But I was not alive for that, so I have no ill will between the two teams. It's kind of like okay, whatever. But my favorite player from the Flyers would have to be, it's tough. It's tough. There's so many guys I like on the Flyers, but I'd have to go. I don't think I can really go with one guy. But if I had to, Claude Giroux, just because he's the captain, he's the leader, and it's so tough to leave out everybody else. But I will have to say Oscar Lindblom as well, just because everyone's Oscar strong right now.
True, true.
But who would your number one team be? I feel like it's a team that not a lot of people like.
That is partly true, and they're known as the Boston Bruins. Probably one of the best teams in the league in the past 2 to 3 seasons. They had a struggle a couple years ago when they had the coaching change. Claude Julien couldn't fulfill his job like he always does with other teams. That would be with Montreal right now. But anyways,
Typical
continuing
Bruins fan.
forward, so yeah, with Claude Julien out, the former hockey player Bruce Cassidy in, and he got him right back into the playoffs. And after missing 2 seasons, they went back in, and ever since a couple seasons ago, they've been doing well. Last year, unfortunately, they lost in the final to some crappy team from Missouri. But
I would like to play a certain song right now, but for copyright reasons, I
copyright
won't.
reasons, we cannot play Glorious,
Nor will I
Glorious.
mention it.
Glorious, Glorious. We're not playing Glorious, Glorious. But I know there was a spelling error there, but there's a reason. But but anyways, yeah, the top player on that team for me, definitely Patrice Bergeron. Many people would think I would say Pastrnak or Marjan, because Marjan still his popularity is still up there for licking people's faces and getting under people's skin. But no, it's definitely Bergeron, mainly because him and Chara have been in the long haul for many, many seasons. Chara retiring either after this year, or no matter what happens, or next year, because he only signed a 1-year contract earlier this year. So Bergeron definitely is my favorite player. His performance still continues even with his age, which I think he's like 36 now, 37. He's getting up.
30, 33,
He's
I think,
oh
because I
33. He's
got him
younger
in
than I
my.
thought. That's even better then. But his performance is, even though it's kind of showing that he's slowly slacking, his performance is definitely showing in the playoffs, which is huge because that's where they need it to show. And other players like Pastrnak stuff are very good as well, but I feel like overall as all-rounded player, Bergeron is the better player.
You know what's
So
interesting about
yeah,
the Bruins?
what is that?
Zdeno Chara is what, 43 now? He's got to be double
42.
the age of some of his teammates. I just find that crazy.
Uh, Denton Heinen? No, he's not with the team anymore. He went to. It's a player that was.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. The Bruin players, yeah, 43, just like Joe Thornton. You could say the same thing about Joe Thornton. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much top three there for me: Chicago, Carolina, and Boston. And
For
your top
me,
three, as you said:
Anaheim, Buffalo, Philly.
Anaheim, Buffalo, longest playoff drought currently, and Anaheim.
Look,
And Buffalo and Philly, my bad. uh, that's alright. But yeah, that's gonna conclude this video for our top teams. Many more to come. We probably will do a football one down the road, not right now, probably around the time the season starts. Because we have more videos to do about that and the draft probably coming up later in the
we
week.
got a good amount of videos on tap. Like you said about the draft, I'll be spearheading that one for the first time. I'll be the one spearheading the video, so that'll be an experience. I hope you all enjoy it with me.
Yeah, he will. He knows football is his number one, hockey's my number one, and his number two is like baseball and hockey, and my number two is like baseball and football. So it's kind of opposite, but it works out because the way we do the videos, we can still contribute either way, and at the same time, we're learning about the other sports. So that will do it for this video. Feel free to subscribe and like, and many more content to come in the coming weeks.
Oh yeah, we're
All right, talk to you guys soon.